Okay, everyone, welcome. Let's see if all that happened correctly. I see a little microphone button. Boom. All right, it worked. Hello. Every Sunday with the hello. I very much appreciate it. Okay, we're going to hop right into it just to see if we can move a little quicker. But one thing I do need to do is I'm just going to post in the Stats Edge trading room here that I am live. And there, just like that. Boom. Okay, and last but not least, which is hugely important, there we go. Said I have my lo-fi hip hop up. So now that all that's done, let's just grab into it. It's a good suggestion, Brett. Everyone hit the like button. I don't know how many of you here, but that would be greatly appreciated. So, quick intro in case it's your first time here. My name is Michael Noss. I'm a chartered market technician and quantitative trader. It's late on a Sunday. So what we do is each and every week, I kind of sit down live. I go over Forex, crypto, FX, equities. We try to build a watch list for next week, and I go over any of the chart requests that you guys bring with me. Again, I appreciate everyone for showing up. This is a preview, I guess, in a way, for what I do every night over at Stats Edge Trading, where you get access to my scans, my watch list, every night an analysis of the crypto and FX and futures market and all of that. So come stop on by, link in the description below, along with access to everything you see me use here today. So I think that's a good enough little wrap up. So actually, let's just get right into it. And as always, we will start with Bitcoin because I'm a creature of habit. And part of the thing that I like to teach is that anyone who's watched me for any length of time knows I do the exact same kind of thing every day with only little differences as time goes on. So Bitcoin here, let's actually get rid of that because I don't need that in there. We'll clear that out. So Bitcoin, geez, what is there to say about Bitcoin? If anyone is new to the crypto market and you got involved in kind of this area right here, let me just tell you what's going on now. Right here is completely normal. If you look at Bitcoin and crypto, how it moves is there's always, these crazy periods of movement followed by incredible long periods of time of sideways chop, right? So just for reference, this area right here of sideways chop started January 2022 and really didn't break out until May. So, even if you go back in time, it's the same kind of thing after the last collapse period of time here as well, right? Big movement, long periods of time of chop. So, I just think we're kind of in that zone right now where we had, this period of movement. We had this big drop out of this huge level of support. I've been talking about it since it started right here. 30,000 is the number. We fell out of it, drawing my anchored VWAPs in kind of the new way that I'm testing, where I just first identify the trend. And then if we're in a downtrend, I just draw from the bottom. And if we're in an uptrend, I draw from the top. You can see the anchored VWAPs that have been hitting, or how we've hit that twice. So this seems to be a bit of an issue so far. This bottom one kind of acting as support, but we're really just kind of chopping around in this area. So I'm just going to draw in another little zone in here that we now need to watch, and we're kind of falling off of that zone a bit. So there's really nothing to write home about one way or the other. There's really no need for me to act in crypto. An old Warren Buffett quote of the thing about trading, unlike baseball, is you can watch every single pitch that goes by and you don't ever have to swing. So for me, Bitcoin is in one of those zones where I don't really have to swing, so I'm not gonna. Now, when it comes to some individual names, there are some things that I saw, but let's actually just go through all of the crypto. We'll load up the list here. Waiting on your stream. Awesome. Glad to see it. This file is moving up. Filecoin. So yeah, everything's getting a pretty chill day. I don't think there's going to be anything new to look at. Yeah, everything kind of relaxing today. So 2 trades that I'm in but have interesting looks is one, I'm in this mana. Essentially just took it on this candle right here as we broke out of this this kind of downward wedge with clear support at kind of 75 cents. So under 75 cents, that's where I got to exit. I've got a target at $2, right? So risking 25% for a double. I don't think there's really anything to add to this. It's just kind of been chopping sideways. Another one that there might actually be something to add that I'm in is Uniswap. And let's look at the Kraken version. So my drawings come over. So what I was looking at Uniswap is this kind of inverse head and shoulders look like, broke out of it, and then we put in this bull flag. So you could also just kind of draw this as like just a giant cup here and then a handle here. We broke out of that. I picked some up around the $8 even area, and now it's kind of chopping sideways. So if this is going to continue to build a base and move higher, maybe there's something that I'd push up in here. But just like everything else, I'm just trading the relative strength off of this name, in which, you know, we know Bitcoin's hanging out near its lows and this one's hanging out pretty close to its highs. So like anything, I like to trade relative strength. So this is one that if you're a relative strength trader like myself, I suggest taking a look at. And it's one of those things where I'm going to say it again. I say it all the time, but I think it's very important that people start to play in the crypto space, especially because you can open an account for $100 or less. I think some of them you can open as low as $10 and just start playing a little bit. The commissions are done on a percentage basis, so it won't matter if you're trading like a lot or a little. But the reason that I suggest everyone take a look and open up an account is 2 reasons. One, it's an emerging space that is actually, it trades really technically well. The other reason is that I think that eventually, and maybe sooner than we think, it might just be like a few years away, all of the markets are going to get tokenized in some way, or they're going to have to move over to a 24/7 model. They're just going to have to, right? There's on FTX now, you can actually already trade big names like Tesla and Apple and these kind of things. You can trade them in their tokenized form. So by kind of ignoring this upcoming 24-hour cycle that I think is going, it may hurt your trading in the long run. So I always suggest open up an account, put $100 in it, start to play as if there is no more of an open and close, because, you know, again, you're going to have to get to that point, I think, eventually anyway. So, you know, keep an eye on that. So yeah, that's all for the crypto space. Again, what I'm doing is same as everything else, right? So picture this in your mind, and now go back to this, right? So, you know, we sold off pretty dramatically in Bitcoin. We're at these lows right here, and then if we go back to Uniswap, right, you can see how much we've been bouncing off of Uniswap, really have doubled off of our lows. So You know, I know a lot of people, they're like, when do I buy Bitcoin? But for me, just like any other asset that I trade, I want the ones that are relatively strong. Plus, I think when it comes to this and mana, just because, again, both are showing relative strength, I think that the percentage return you can get out of these is potentially much higher. So now into traditional currencies. When it comes to Forex, right, I think this note's still going to remain. The dollar looks like it could be breaking down. Again, we've been watching this dollar kind of rocket for a very long time here. You can see all my kind of notes and scribbles as it went up. If this starts to break down, I think that bodes well for the equity markets. But the reason I do it in when I'm looking at this is I want to see the individual, basically anything denoted in US dollars. If this is going to break down, and most things denoted in US dollars are gonna pop up. So this Aussie yen has really been kind of the bane of my existence. For a while there, I was looking at this like maybe just a really complex top. You know, I took a few shorts on it and I lost on those. And then I was looking at it as a bull flag and I took a few shorts on that and I lost on those. So I've kind of stepped back for at least a little bit on it. However, it is more obviously now looking like it could be this complex top again. So I'm going to see if we kind of trade below this anchored VWAP for a period of time. Maybe we could push lower here. Again, just a little bit overextended. You know, it could easily come back and test this area. Even if I got it down into here, that'd be a great trade. But, you know, more or less looking like this kind of complex top might be what's happening here. The only trade I am in right now, I'll just get that out of the way, is I'm long some of this pound off of the lower time frames. I bought some in here as it pulled back to this zone. So I'm long a little bit right in this area. My current stop is kind of just under this zone. So it's more of a shorter term trade, but I did hold it over the weekend. So I'm watching this Aussie yen. As always, I zoom into the lower chart and then I try to look for a trade off of this, right? So what I'll do is I'll just draw, it's in a downtrend now on this lower time frame. So I'll just draw these in and then just kind of mark these as create alerts. Again, you can do all this in Trendspider, which is what I use for crypto and FX. If you want to give it a shot, you can just go through and say, hey, alert me if this anchored VWAP is hit. And I'll probably do another one right here. And then these are the areas that I'll look to see if I get a bearish candle off of these areas. That's kind of my premise for trading FX right now. It's just identify the trend from the longer term chart, zoom into the shorter term chart, try to see if you get a bounce off of those areas. I'm just going to delete this while I'm here. Move this and then remove that ray. Okay. All right, so that's Aussie yen. Maybe a top coming in here, which probably means dollar yen. I definitely should think there was a top. This is kind of interesting to me. There's a huge area of resistance here for the Aussie dollar. Huge, huge area of resistance. And we've kind of been grinding back up to that. So I still have this note. I'll probably actually keep this note here. However, if the dollar breaks down, then I don't know how much it will matter. I think it may be one of those things in which the dollar is going to offset everything. But like is my trading plan, I always stick to my trading plan. We've got some resistance here. We're obviously in a downtrend. So I zoom into the hour chart and I try to look for, let's remove all those, and then just something like this would be interesting to take a short for Aussie dollar. Do I just short Aussie dollar right here? One moment, guys. We're going off script. Forex Factory. I just want to see if there's any like big economic events. No. Bank holiday. All day. Does that mean it's still a bank holiday there? Yeah, ISM for the US dollar, and that will be interesting. But I just mean for Aussie, I was kind of thinking an overnight trade. Is anyone from Australia? Do you know if it's actually still a bank holiday there? I guess if it was, it will be Monday there, and it will go until yeah. So Monday, create alert here. So that would go until midday tomorrow. Is that how that works? I don't know. I'll leave it alone. If I don't know, I'll leave it alone. Euro, US dollar, a lot of these things are starting to dig in. And again, I don't think it's because the euro is starting to dig in. I think it's because the dollar is starting to fade. Pound, right? Same kind of thing. And then again, I'm in this GDP USD again, just because it went in as well. Yeah, it should have just opened, but it says bank holiday here under AUD. So we'll see. If I start to see it move a bunch, then I'll know it's open. But Kiwi, right? Kiwi's relatively weak and struggling. But again, all of these things are going to be related to the dollar. I'm still watching the Canadian dollar because, again, Canadian dollar and Aussie are going to quite often look the same, where they're both petro currencies. So these are trading against the dollar, and then they have the petro side of things. So, you know, if this can hold and start moving higher, then I'm going to start looking, again, zoom into the lower time frame and looking for some longs to the Canadian dollar. This has got to be my biggest miss, maybe if this continues, of like the year. And essentially it's just because I was looking at this right here, and I made some notes in Stats Edge about how we had this RSI divergence. So people don't know, RSI is a momentum indicator. So if price is moving higher while the RSI is moving lower, it can just be an early warning sign that momentum is running out. I took a little bit of a short in through here when it broke down and made some money off that, and missed the big move. So I'm kind of a little butthurt about that, but same kind of thing. All right, I'm still looking for this to continue lower, maybe up until these highs right here or these lows right here. So I'll be into the lower time frame, and I'm just going to create an alert off of here. If we get a bounce in my quest to become an eternal pullback trader, go as well. And then gold sucks. It's bouncing here, but it still sucks. I have an alert set on, let's actually just clear these. So I'm watching this one, and I'm watching this one. So I want to just create alerts for these lines. And again, this is how I trade Forex a lot, and it's how I suggest people look at if you trade Forex or if you trade crypto. So I just set a lot of alerts, and then I have my watch on, and if it rings at a time that I'm awake, I mute all these while I sleep. Obviously, that's the most important. That's the most important thing. I'll take a trade off those as well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for crypto or for FX. I think it really all has to do with the dollar, right? It's in a very interesting zone here. You can see I highlight it, which is these highs back here. and then some of these lows. So it's in this zone. If the dollar bounces and continues higher, I think, again, all of those cryptos that we were looking at will push lower. And then at the same time, the equity market will probably push lower as well. I think a lower dollar right now seems to be good for the equity market as a whole. What is it about statistics to give you an edge in trading? Well, it's just one of those that I believe that by tracking what you do and tracking your trading plan, you can go through and make sure that what you're doing has some sort of statistical advantage. There's a lot of people that just assume that their trading style or philosophy or whatever about fundamentals or news or whatever it is, they assume that that gives them an edge, right? Where if I can track the statistics and I know that at least 51% of the time when X happens, that Y will happen, then I can stack that on top of my analysis and, just 10,000 hours of staring at the screen to make sure that that is holding true. But I can at least hold in my hand tests that I've done on certain things. Okay, now into what everyone's cares about, which is the stock market. Really, it's one of those things, and this is TradeIdeas. This is what I use for my scanning and alerting in the equity markets, that kind of thing. Statistics regarding your trade from your journal is the edge, not some statistical business. Yeah, it's where you get the statistics doesn't really matter, but you're right. Most of the time, it should come from your own trading, right? Where you're recording your own statistics and you're saying, hey, I trade this type of setup really well and maybe this type of setup poorly and these type of things. So you're able to track your own trading. At the same time, there's some baked in statistics that we know in the market. So like we know that trend following in the market generates a better return than revision to the mean, right? People trying to pick tops and bottoms. We know statistically that markets trend more than they revert. So there's little things like that as well that I think just applying these things together. So you say, okay, I know the market trends more than it mean reverts. That's one piece of statistics that can give you an edge, and then you combine that with your own trading plan and you can go through and say, hey, I know that I am a better breakout trader or pullback trader, or I've developed this AVWAP philosophy and this works well in this markets and by tracking these things, it's I've never met a good trader that doesn't track what they do and know where their edge is, and even if it's kind of internalized at this point, um, every trader does it. So, right, 420 is the number. Until then, I'm not really still super bullish. We're very extended here, right? The 4 days up in a row, we're up about like 15% in a row. We've got this clear level at 420 that I think even goes back further on the chart. I've been pointing out, everyone will tell you, to the stats hedge people for a long time, we are in a bear market. Until, right, we get a higher high and some sort of base, then we know that trends continue. And the trend right now of the market continues to be lower. So as long as we are under this 420 area, which is this is what I'll be making the serious notes about later, as long as we are under this 420 area, well, then I'm not going to be super interested on, really pounding the table or piling into a bunch of longs. Now, we've been long from this area right here, but just because we found a bunch of stuff that was relatively relatively strong to the market. So I think the scanning tonight is going to be really quick, because the problem I have, and this is just a problem with my philosophy, which is important to note, that everybody's trading philosophy has areas where it's not the best. So again, people in Stats Edge Pro will tell you that when the market is selling off, I'm loving life, because I look for relative strength. When I'm looking at stuff like this and the market's been up an insane amount in a row, you guys will notice that the watch list is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And that's not because I'm lazy or anything. It's just because right now the problem I have is you are either buying stuff that's not yet broken out, um, which is inherently relative weak to the market. You're buying stuff that's pulling back right now, which is really weak in comparison to the market, right? Or you're buying stuff that's moving with the market and right now is stronger than the market, and then you're buying stuff that's probably overextended. So these kind of up moves right here, they give me the most amount of problems when it comes to finding new stocks. So I have a bunch, right? So I'm not too worried about it, but when it comes to finding new ones, just follow the news. Possibly wrong. Yeah, using fundamentals. By buying and holding like the S&P, or maybe no, see, I'm more of a short-term trader, right? So I'm not really buying and holding the S&P. The reason I do the analysis, and the reason you'll see me go through a list of ETFs, is because I do essentially what's called top-down analysis. So top-down analysis starts with what's the overall market, which I use the S&P 500, but people use a lot of different things as proxy. And then I zoom within those and I find, okay, what sectors are performing the best? And then when I run my scans, I'm looking for stocks that meet my written and tested trading plan, because if you don't have one, you're just a gambler and the market will take your money and you deserve it. But so say I do my analysis and I say, okay, I think the market's strong, and then I think the real estate sector is strong, and then I find a real estate stock that meets my written and tested trading plan. That one is going to get the edge over something else that may be from a weaker sector. So for me, it's more about what sandbox am I playing in, is kind of the easiest way to look at that. So that's my thoughts on the S&P 500. So we're just going to go through some lists. Burke B, if we compare this to, let's do this, and we'll turn this, some linking off, and then we'll do the ARC comparison. You can see, let's just remove this. I was testing some money flow stuff. But you can very much see Burke. Let's actually just take that. I think that'll be a good screenshot, because again, every time you see me take a screenshot like this is what's going to go in Stats Edge Pro. But right, you can see very simply, right, relative strength. Right, so Buffett's still kicking Kathy's ass. Right, we've got this sideways chop, and then we have this push up. So the reason I look at these is not so much, again, for the ETFs, but Burke B is my proxy for value stocks, and ARC is my proxy for junk kind of growth, unprofitable growth stocks, right? So now that we can see how much Burke B is doing, again, this goes to what I was talking about before, where I'm looking for relative strength. And this is going to show me that the boring part of the market, the stronger kind of names right now are boring shit. So it's going to be utilities and gas and right, old Jimmy Rogers, before he went absolutely insane, just had a quote that when the market is in trouble or when inflation is high, you want to own things that if you drop it on your foot, it would hurt, right? And that's kind of what Buffett's into right now with basically buying Oxy. Like, it seems like he's buying just the entire company. I think he's like a 9 point blah 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 percent shareholder, and I think it's to avoid, as soon as he becomes 10%, then he's got to do some disclosures. But this is lining up with what we're seeing in right here, right? With we're seeing XLU being at highs. It's a boring one. There's a So the question is, there a good banking index? There is a regional bank. KRE, that's a good one. So this one represents your regional banks, which is your little guys, right? Your I don't know, in America. We don't have these. We don't have regional banks in Canada, but these are like your mom and pa little banks that exist everywhere are in the KRE. I don't know if that's what you're after, because XLF is the big guys, right? XLF is the Bank of Americas and Citigroups and all of that. So KRE would be the other side of that if you're looking for kind of the little guys as well, right? Yeah, that was it. Cool. Yeah, so that's a good one to keep in mind for, again, those the little dudes out there. You crack me up, man. Yeah, you'll notice that a lot with things being close to earnings. It's just that there's like 2 weeks in every quarter that's just kind of a nightmare for me, and this looks like it's going to be one of them for a couple of reasons, right? So it's like, do I look at solar stocks right now? Because tan, I talked about how it was going to break out. It looked like it was going to break out on this day, and then it just gapped, right? And I think it's because First Solar, I think, is a lot of tan. But yeah, it's like, are you interested in buying this stuff up here? Same with, like, you're talking about regional banks in your scan. Well, regional banks have gone from 56 to 63 pretty much in a straight line. So again, it's problematic. Even uranium, like, I was looking for uranium off of this level, and, like, again, you guys probably noticed there's less and less charts in the wrap up, and less because there's really nothing for me to do. Like, I liked uranium plays when it was down here, but now it's up here, I'm just not too interested. And it's the same with a lot of this, which, again, it's just, I know 100% that this is going to be my issue with my trading philosophy, which is, my trading philosophy is simply buy the strongest stuff. But it's like, how do you buy the strongest stuff when, everything's kind of everything's so overdone like this, right? The strongest stuff should be jumping up more than the market, which means it should be overextended to the market. So again, it just creates, which is fine. It just means that I do less. I mean, no, it means I do less swing trading, right? I can still trade FX. I can still trade cryptocurrencies. I can still day trade, all of this. It's just for this one particular style. And if you're still in the point of your trading career where you only have one trading style, which I always recommend, right? Get one trading style first, and then kind of expand out only after you've reached some consistency with that one trading style. You just do nothing, right? Which, yeah, you're right. Sometimes doing nothing doesn't sound like a problem to me, and that's the thing. So it's it's summer, so right, this is the only thing that still looks like it's setting up. Right, so I need to look at how many biotechs I have on the list, but maybe the biotech sector is going to be the next to go. But right, the banking I'm not interested in. Right, KRE is too high. USO, right, this one's a little bit better, but it's still up pretty significant over the last few days. Everything else just looks kind of overdone. ARC just sucks, like it always does. And KWeb still, bottomed out before everything else. And it's still kind of holding here, but just a bunch of junk overhead now. I kind of liked it when it was up here, and now it's down here. There's really nothing else, nothing that I'm super interested in. So again, it creates a conundrum for me, but again, that's fine. It's important you know the limit of your trading strategy. And, it's every trading strategy will have a weakness. It just will, right? If you're a trend follower, then in range-bound markets, you're going to be weaker. If you're, if you trade revision to the mean when the market trends, you're going to get destroyed. It's just going to be the way it works, right? Weakening RSI and XBI. See, this is why I don't like indicators, because of course it is, right? Not to call you out, but I'm gonna a little bit. Like, of course it is. I don't need to. If I look at XBI right here, I don't need to know anything about what the RSI is doing, and I could have already told you that it's going down. Right? And the reason I know that is because, again, you got to remember what the RSI measures. So it's the average up day versus the average down day. So you can see that way back here, of course, the average up day versus the average down day is increasing because all of these are up days. There's very few down days. And then now, right, you're seeing a mix of average up days and average down days. So there's less average up days than there is here. So that means it's going down. That's all there is to it. So like through this period of time, I know the RSI is going down. And then through this period of time, I know it would be grinding back up. Okay, like we can do this blind if you don't believe me. Yeah, so right here, the RSI is going lower, and then right here, the RSI is going back up. Right? So I said right there, it's going lower. And then I said right here, it's pushing back up. Right? And that's just, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, right? And this is another Brian Shannonism, right? And he always just would say an overbought condition or an oversold condition can either correct through price or through time, right? And it's basically just the way the mathematics, which, he may not even know, but he's just seen it so much. But it's just the way the mathematics of it work out, right? The RSI is a simple mathematical calculation. I could show it to you. But yeah, so it just means that if you have a sideways chop preceding an up move, then the RSI is going to be moving lower. And if you have a sideways chop after a down move, then the RSI is going to be moving higher. And because if you have an equal amount of up days and down days, and it's just chopping sideways, then that RSI is going to be about 50, right? And again, it's you doing it relative to what happened in the past. So as that kind of pushes on, it's going to update as well. So this is why Rsi Divergence are interesting. And I see your chart requests those, and we'll get to them. But I just want to make this point where, right, so an RSI divergence is interesting because the price is moving higher. So basically what this divergence in dollar yen is saying, and again, you can kind of see it if you look at the chart. It's saying that this move right here created this amount of force, and then this move created slightly less force, even though it made a higher high. And then this move created even less force, even though it made a higher high. So that's what creates your RSI divergence. But if you just look at the candles, if we just zoom into the candles, right, it's not rocket science to say, right, look at, it was green every single day except a little blip here for a very long period of time. And then it was green a little bit more, but you can see how the candles are getting smaller to make this high. And now you can see what kind of a sloppy mess it took to make this high. So really, spotting RSI divergences, you don't even really need the RSI. The RSI is just a nice, clean way, and this is the purpose that indicators should solve. It's a nice way to quantify this behavior of, right, strong cleanup move, slightly weaker, but still pretty clean up move, and then, absolute mess on the way up, right? So when I say there's no magic in indicators, I mean it. They are just simple degradations of price and volume, just mathematical degradations of price and volume. That's all they are. So if you need the RSI to spot this divergence, that's interesting. Just use it. Doesn't bother me. Just know what it is, which is just showing you that, right, there's more down candles in this last up move than there was in this up move, and that there was in this up move. So XHE, healthcare equipment. Yeah, this is going to look good, the same as XLV is, right? So XLV is kind of my healthcare and bio are kind of the last bastions that I think for places that you could find strength, and it's going to be relative weak to the market, but kind of strength to itself. So XHE is going to follow XLV pretty well, because XHE is the, they make the picks and shovels for XLV, right? So XLV is your healthcare company. XHE is going to be the things that make the things for the company. The same as like USO is oil, and XOP is oil related companies, right? So the guys who make the drilling equipment and do the drilling and that kind of thing, right? And then XHS, yeah, same thing. S&P Healthcare Services, right? So this is going to be also part of XLV. They're going to move together. And again, I really like the look of XLV, just because it had this little bear trap and then it's been holding. So if you take this and then let's do price compare, but we want to do SPY. Right. One thing I like about healthcare here is that it's been moving sideways at the same time that the bear market in this one here is occurring. Right, so you have this down move in the market, but you have this sideways move in XLV. And then the same thing with XBI, which was the shittiest of all, ETFs for the longest time. You can see, right, it's been moving higher again so XLV bottom, or XBI bottomed right here, right, and then made an equal bottom right here where this made a lower bottom. So some relative strength here already. So those are the two kind of industries that I'm like most kind of focused on, right? Oh, I see the message in the pro room. Yeah. So I would say of those two ETFs that you look at, you could probably replace them by looking at this one, unless you want to, zoom in deeper and like maybe you want to play one as relative strength to the other. But this XLV would be kind of like the granddaddy for all of that other stuff. Sounds haven't. Good. I'm glad you learned something new. It's good that, and again, it just doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? If you look at pretty much every bull flag out there, again, you'll have the RSI coming back down after the move. So think of it Not so much as the RSI is pushing lower, therefore the stock's going to move lower. Think of it more as it's like it's working off its overbought condition, which again is the premise of a bull flag, right? You have a big strong move, but this may make the security overbought, and then you have a sideways chop like this, and that's it kind of working off its overbought condition, so that when it pushes again, it doesn't have all this overbought baggage. So it gives you a better place to put a stop loss, but B, we all know that stocks don't go up forever, right? So exit, right? Big push up, and then sideways chop, and then right it rests. So I always think of it like a fat guy running up a hill. It either has to stop and take a break, or it's going to come kind of tumbling down with everything else. I wrote a Google Sheet to show the math behind a few indicators such as RSI to show some people in the Discord how the indicators they use work. Yeah, that's awesome. I did a series that no one watched, but I thought it was good, where I broke down the math behind them and the reasons for them. Edge trading. Man, I need someone that's good at like SEO and stuff. I can't even. Oh yeah, I also had this video that if you guys haven't watched, watch. Where's my chat? Go watch this later if you haven't already watched it. Live trading. But yeah, it was. God, my channel's so tiny. Yeah, demystifying indicators, and that was the whole point of this. Was I was going to show the mathematics behind it, show exactly what it did and how it worked. I put a fair amount of work into all of these things, and just nobody watched them. I guess maybe I should go back to this. These aren't bad. 100 views or so here or there. Yeah, I need to find someone who understands how to get my shit out there. RSI video is really well. Thank you very much. Watched all of them. Yeah, I know you did. No one else. I gotta figure out how to. I gotta figure out how to just get my shit out there a little better. Yeah, what I learned is that people don't know what I think. They just want to know what the answer is. That's why I'm going to start moving, I think, do a little more live trading content and try to find a way to sneak education in there, because that's 100% right. Right? If I wanted to double my channel views tomorrow, I would just, right, talk about how I'm going to trade my 6-figure account to do blah, 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 or, right, $250,000 on this trading strategy. And again, maybe it gets to the point where I have to bite the bullet some and like play some of the game, but then I keep the honesty and transparency. But I've always got this kind of moral conflict, right? Eventually, it might get to the point where I do the clickbait thumbnails, the clickbait titles, the big numbers that I show off, and then just to get them in, and then I just kind of hit them with a left hook when it comes to this is how trading really works. Personally, I think you should not use an indicator till you understand. Absolutely agree with this one. And like actually works. Like I want you to know the mathematics behind the indicator before you use it. I want you to be able to like recite how the math works, and then you can understand exactly what it's telling you. Right? Like a lot of people, like they're like, "Oh, what moving average is the best?" And then that was the whole point with the demystifying indicators, was I was supposed to say, well, 10-period moving average is not magic. It's just the last 10 closing prices divided by 10. Like there's nothing there. So anyway, so now is also when we're going to do chart requests. So what we're going to do for the last little segment here, is chart requests. If anything you guys want me to look at, go ahead. Yep. Pretty gnarly watch tan. Just shows you how white pale I actually am. Yeah, so chart requests, I'll take a look at those. I'm going to go through the watch list as of Friday, see if there's anything that I want to remove. I'm going to scan, see if there's anything I want to add. I don't know if I'll be able to find too much. Again, right, my idea is just the market is pushing up. It's coming into a big area of resistance up here. Again, anything I find is either going to be underperforming the market or is going to be it overdone. So, this is the time where my cycle, the cycle of my swing trading is market congests or sells off. I make lists of relative strength names. The market starts to move higher. I'm buying those relative strength names. The market gets overextended. I'm selling those relative strength names, right? And then the market chills out or pulls back, rinse and repeat, right? So if we're going to get, so ideally for me, if I want to enter more things, we're going to pull back or we're going to chop sideways next week. And then I will start buying, or I'll start making my list. And then as the market breaks out, hopefully the things on my list are starting to trigger. So I'm buying those things. As it goes higher, I'm selling, rinse and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat, right? Key before I lose that. KeyCorp's a regional bank, isn't it? I thought. Yeah, commercial banking. Looks good. Earnings on this date obviously gapped up a little bit, chopped around. You have this low right here to contend with, but if you get over that, that's fine. Just know this is boring as shit, right? Between here and here, that's going to be a big move. But again, it's like, take this and let's compare it to, what was it, KRE, which its index, right? It's underperforming its index. And if we compare it to the SPY, it's underperforming the SPY. So if the SPY turns down, this could get hit harder. And it's going to be a lot of this. I think the trip is to Smokes Your website, to sign up for every possible Google, Facebook, Meta service, throw a few dollars. Yeah, that's the thing, is I need someone who understands SEO and like Google AdWords and stuff like that. But it's like, I'm also really lazy. I would like more people to just organically find my stuff, because, like, I get emails all the time. Hey, can I get a discount for Stats Edge? And I just don't even really answer them, because it's just not, I don't have the energy to play games with someone for $50 a month. And that might sound like pretentious and I don't know, might sound entitled as shit, but it's like, I don't know. So many big resistance points. Yeah. Remember that Google uses some version of the page algorithm, so no matter that your site gets mentioned by other sites too. Yeah, see, that's all the stuff that's just, and then it's like, how much time do I want to devote to that versus building new trading algorithms and stuff that I like to do. So it's like, I keep like pushing Jess and say, hey, once the baby calms down, why don't you learn some SEO for me? ROVI, I'm just getting rid of this thing just for fucking spite. So just FYI, I'm removing this from the list just because it's been on the list since I think like right here, and it's just been chopping sideways. So it will undoubtedly break $5 and run to $15 very soon after, because that's just how life works. It's worn me out. So it's one of those things. I'll just do one of these, like, remind me if it gets back to this point, and leave me alone. Frog, I'm still watching. Oh no, we've got earnings in 3 days, so that's got to go. This was playing a little cup and handle here. This is some computer programming services, I think. So above that was interesting, but we've got earnings in a few days. So that's got to go. And this is earnings in a few days. So this got to go. And again, these just might be a short list for this week, which is fine. Halo, 7 candles. Nah, I'll kill you too. Las Vegas Sands. This one's after earnings, so I still like the look of this one. It's holding above this zone pretty nicely. It did move up with the market, but I think the thing that kind of messed it up is it had earnings. So if it can get above this, I'm still interested in Las Vegas Sands. If it breaks down kind of under this high here and this high here, that's where I'll kill it from the list. ACLX, still interested in this. I'm still holding from like way back here. My stop is now above this low, and I might even get out as this thing gets narrow. This is a good looking chart, and it's an IPO. So there's really no, this is its all-time high. So if it gets going, it could really get going. CERT, how much longer? 7 candles. I'll leave it on. Basically just big round at bottom, see if this can break through. THS, how many? 6. I'll leave this on for another few days. And Vuzi. This one's going to be sad when I have to remove this one. I'm in this one already from in here somewhere. I really like this one because it's got like a 33% short float, and it's been holding really, really nicely here. So I'm hoping that if it gets going, then you could get a little mini short squeeze. Right, testing this high would be a double. That'd be pretty insane. But I'll leave this on for now. But if earnings get too close, then I've got to. If I'm not up big on it and I've already sold a bunch, then there's really nothing I can do. So we are going to scan through some things. New scan in the Market Explorer for those with trade ideas and have the Market Explorer. Oh, that's not good. Just ignore you and hope you go away. Right here. So this is a new one. It's in there now. You can play with it. It's an abandoned baby. I made a joke on Twitter that some people didn't appreciate, but that's fine. So essentially what it's looking for is a gap down followed by a gap back up for when it's an abandoned baby up, and when it's an abandoned baby down, it's basically looking for a gap up one day and a gap down the next day. And the gap needs to be bigger than, I believe, 1 ATR. Right, so a lot of these kind of look a little junky, and I may go in and tweak them a bit. But the idea is pretty simple, right? So you had this day, you had a gap up, and then you had a gap back down. Right, AMTD, zoom in. Right, so this one's just all over the place, but this one would have been an abandoned baby short, and that one would have been abandoned baby long. So the idea is simply you're looking for a bit of a trend continuation play off of these, right? So this would have been the gap up, and then this, right? Then it gaps back down to here. So the idea is maybe this thing's just going to continue lower. And again, for the long ones, this was the gap lower, and then it gapped up higher. So maybe there'll be some continuation on these things. So check it out. Feedback's interesting, right? So this one would have been one where we gapped. This was on the 15th, so it would have been right here. So it gapped lower, and then it gapped up the next day. So that was an interesting couple day move. So it's an interesting pattern to play with. Not really for this scan. It might be something that if you're interested, you can play and maybe get a few days scalp out of. I'm going to start doing some testing on it, try to figure out if there is some baked in statistics in trading these things kind of in the direction of the overall trend. I need to figure out too how to get rid of ADRs like this. But, right, so gap down and then gapped back up. So, right, start watching these things. If what people use them for is right, maybe we get some continuation here, save, right, be a gap up and then a gap back down. Let's see if we get some continuation lower. If so, might be an interesting little thing to play some short-term options or something like that on. Do you set up trades in Trendspider and have them sent to trade ideas? So no, I use different, both of them for different things. So trade ideas, I can have like tons. So you're seeing half of one of my monitors. I've got ultra wide monitors. So I've got a whole other one that goes all the way out to like here. So trade ideas during the day, I can have tons and tons of different charts up and I can look at them. That's one advantage. I use trade ideas to send all of my orders to interactive brokers, like you mentioned. That's another one. I do all of my day trading with trade ideas as well, and I do most of my scanning with trade ideas. Those are the real kind of advantages that I have to trade ideas. Now, what I use Trendspider for is really the annotations on the charts are way better. And for a lot of people, that might not be important. For me, because I show everything off to the Stats Edge Pro community, that's important. And at the same time, for me as a chartist, I guess, I want to be able to draw these zones and things, and you can't do that kind of stuff on trade ideas yet. There's a plan in the future to go and up our drawing tools, but right now they're, just awful, without mincing words. I just think they're just horrible. So each tool to me has a different use. I would say to most people, you would just pick one, and it's one of those things where it also depends what you trade, because that's another thing that I didn't mention. Trade Ideas has equities in it, which is great. I trade FX and I trade crypto, and I can't use Trade Ideas for that. So Hilton's a little bit interesting here. I like this pop up on earnings and then 2 inside days. So again, a little bit relatively weak to the market, but I think I'm going to add this one in. Again, I like when a stock has a good reaction for earnings and then bases sideways, because if it breaks here, it's basically just saying that it's going to possibly continue from these earnings. So what, 130, 125 on Hilton. A very, very simple, basic trading strategy, but one that's been like stood the test of time for a long time, is you let the direction of the gap, the direction of the initial move, determine whether or not the fundamental news was good or bad. So you don't need to know, but then you wait for a consolidation and then just a continuation on that kind of play. Would you piss your trade ideas coup if you did a guest charting experience? Seems like they have the guess all the time. I don't think they would get upset if I did kind of a guess thing. I do a lot of appearances. I might be doing some stuff with Refinitiv soon as well. Formerly known as Thomson Reuters. And then the plan is always that if I can get on the inside with these companies, then maybe there is some sort of a partnership to do. What I would probably do if I did something with Trendspider is I would focus on the areas that Trade Ideas doesn't play at all. So Forex and crypto. And that would probably be the way to keep everyone happy. So, like Brett, if you're interested in kind of that XLV chart, you may look at stuff like this. It's going to be surgical and medical supplies. That's going to be involved in XLV. And again, interesting little looks here. But again, I'm just going to have this conundrum. I know. This one's interesting, but it's pretty boring. I don't think it would move enough for me. But same kind of thing, right? Earnings came out, stock gaps and runs higher. Hits, I think, pretty much new highs. Let's actually relink this, and then we will add that as a weekly chart. So when I click on this, they'll both update. Yeah, so ran pretty much to new highs, and then it's just putting in this little flag as well. Right, so this is a scan that I'm actually liking, even though I'm not someone who trades the strat. But I do like the idea behind this, where it's looking for a down day yesterday and then an inside day today. And I sort it by position in 20-day range here. So I'm seeing the things that are in the top end of their range. So I'm just looking for stuff that's holding up really well. Sorting it by position and range is the easiest way, just to say, show me strong shit. Oh, well, that's going to be problematic in a second. I just kicked the power bar. That's holding the entire setup together. So let's just hope that doesn't fall. I have it mounted under the desk. I just kicked it and it fell down. So if I go in a hurry, if I just disappear, then something probably came unplugged. Makes sense. I have TI now. The anchored VWAP and Trendspider has some merit in trading. Well, they have anchored VWAP in Trade Ideas, just if you didn't know, right under this guy right here. So you click that one, you click the anchor right here, and you can just then click on whatever candle you want, and it anchors. So that may have I may have just saved you a couple bucks picking that up. But yeah, so anchor, click, then anchor, and then click on where you want to anchor, and it will just draw on the anchored VWAP like that. Now, scanning with the anchored VWAP is going to come fairly soon. I was working with my dev who does this Market Explorer stuff for me, and he thinks he figured out the last piece of the puzzle. So I'm going to immediately, when I get access to it, build in things like anchored VWAP from all-time highs, anchored VWAP from all-time lows, anchored VWAPs from the largest gaps, anchored VWAPs from IPOs. There'll just be a myriad of scans that come through the system from there. So that's going to be hopefully in the next week or two, I would say. INFN. Yeah, I see what you're seeing. Interesting kind of round of bottom. Earnings, whatever happened, seemed to be good. You have this gap to fill. That's, for me, it's not really enough movement, but right, if it gets there, that's great. Sweet, sure did. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the drawing tool's in there. You can already scan for anchored VWAPs up to 5 days back in the traditional system. But what I want to do when I get access to that inside the Market Explorer is I want to start scanning for stocks that have just broken their anchored VWAP from all-time highs, or just broken their anchored VWAP from all-time lows, or something like that. I think that there would be some power there. Lilly looks good. However, it's got earnings, right? This would be part of that healthcare thing. So if you guys want to see how I trade, right, we talked a lot about XLV and healthcare and how I kind of liked that it was holding up relatively well to the market. And then I would look at something like Lilly Let's actually just leave this. So leave this in your brain. It's probably in the middle of its range going all the way back to 2021. It's like smack dab in the middle of this range. And then you look at something like Lilly, which is in pharmaceutical preparation. So it's in that healthcare kind of an industry, and it's right up near highs and it's basing near highs. So, right, for me, right, buying Lilly would just be a perfect play, but if it broke out, obviously. But it's got earnings in 3 days, so it's nothing I can do. KNSL. Looks good. So that's going to move with KIE. Just continue our ETF talks. This is the insurance ETF. That looks like it's holding up pretty well. It's relatively weak over the last handful of days, but relatively strong overall. So KNSL is going to move with that, and it just broke out and hit new highs. I like that it happened after earnings, so that's digesting as well. So I like that. You got an area here, so between here and then back here, you got that kind of 250 area you got to watch out for. SMCI. Yeah, interesting gap. Micro, so that's interesting. Yeah, I like the look of this one too. Earning 6 days, so be careful on that one. But that looks good. CVBF. Yeah, this one to me is just a little overdone for what it is. Right, this thing doesn't move at all. Between here and here was 20%, so it took years to get 20%, and then it broke out a bit, and it's just been kind of grinding 10 or 15% since then, and in like days. It takes years to move 20% and then days to move 10%. I would just look at that and say I missed that one. Yeah, this one's a regional, another commercial bank, which is just meh. But yeah, of those, I would say I would like SMCI the best, but it's got the earnings. Just because I like things that gap. Some sort of fundamental event took place here. Don't give a shit what it was. And now it's kind of basing sideways. So if it continues, that could be kind of a second leg from whatever that fundamental event was. This XA Beyond Air is interesting. If it could get over, maybe back over 10 with a stop at like 9. Nine candles away for earnings. Just a nice looking bull flag after that big strong push up. Yeah, I'm going to add this one. 10. And then, right, so it's like a 10% risk. Oh, no problem at all. So there's one more scan I'm going to go through, and then I'm going to see if there's anything in this one. And that's just one of my favorite, which is just the bull flag scan in Trade Ideas. I'm going to make some changes to this next week. Actually, let me actually make that note. There we go. So update old scans with positions and range. I'm just going to add these position and range filters to more of these scans just so that you can sort by things. We're going to allow some more user customization to the Market Explorer coming soon, like price and volume, basic things like that. But one thing I want to add is just the position range column, so you can sort by, position in 6-month range or 1-month range or 1-year range. I think that would help as like a little bit of a stopgap for a little more customization. So this scan is just pattern recognition, for looking for bull flags. So everything you see here will have some kind of big push up and then some sort of consolidation. For people who don't know how I did it, for the people that are interested, it's basically just looking for strong stocks that are having the tightest Bollinger Bands that they've had in a while. That's how I've done the bull flag. That's why, if you hold up a textbook next to it, a lot of them might not work. But yeah, see, this is another good one for your insurance. If you're interested in insurance plays, the CI, I really like the look of, but earnings in 3 days, so I can't really mess with that. This is one of those, like this scan in particular, as I clean it up and as things get better with it, I think is one of those that you could just use this scan within Trade Ideas and probably make some really good trades, doing like nothing else. Going through this list, there's just 158 results, so it's one of those that like I just want to give users a way to funnel it a little bit more. But yeah, it's like everything that looks good generally is looking good because it has earnings in a few days. Because it's one of those things like, generally speaking, stocks will consolidate going into earnings. This one I skipped because it has earnings in 3 days. Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like every one that I stop at, I'm like, oh, that looks good. Right. For those who don't know, Trade Ideas just on the chart right here will just tell you, and it's basically going to tell you if it's within the next week, and that's pretty much my cutoff. Right? Is I generally speaking want to be in stocks for longer than a week. If it's moving with me, I want to stay in it as long as I can. But if it's within the next week, then I'm just instantly no longer interested, because I feel like it doesn't give me enough time, especially as earnings get really close. Often you'll see stocks just kind of chop sideways, just as no one really wants to take a big bet on the stock before earnings. They're just going to wait till after. But let's like, this car was interesting to me, but then earnings in 1 day, right? So it's common. Well, it looks like my pound, just looking down on my iPad, it looks like my pound dollar trade is working well. So either the dollar is pushing lower or yen is pushing higher. See, and then I hate this, right? Because this is the second scan now that I have in the Market Explorer that's just basically looking for strong stocks consolidating. So I've seen a couple of them in there for LLY. So if I was a betting man, I would say LLY is probably going to rocket after earnings and give me absolutely no chance to get in, just because that's the nature of the beast. Right? And when I tell people I go through hundreds of charts a day, they think it's like some giant taxing job, but like there's 150 charts in this just one scan, and we'll go through them all in a few minutes. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. So it's one thing I always, when people are like, well, what should I do in trading? I'm like, find a scan of what works for you and just go through hundreds of charts a day. And then even if you're not trading yet, track what happens. The frig happened. Jeez, that'd be nice to get one day. There's Visa, VIR, Vivo's buyout, right? XBI is in the bull flag scanner, which is funny, which is why everything that we're seeing in here is some sort of bull flag related or healthcare related kind of a thing. Oh, so now we're into the 28th. So no, that's all that I see there. So, all right, guys, one more check if you got any charts you want me to look after. If not, let's go over the list as I have it. Again, I'm not going to be adding much to it because I just think we're a little overdone on the market. And if I'm wrong and we're going to run for the next week, it just means I have a lazy summer week. So that's fine. LVS, right? Big strong push up after earnings, sideways consolidation, ACLX, just playing this as an IPO play. CERT, kind of a cup and handle. THS, just a strong resistance area. Vuzi, I really like the rounded bottom and the hold of support, and then the 32% short float. Hilton, just holding this area of resistance, right? If it can break that, then we've actually broken these lows and just consolidating nicely after earnings. And this XAIR, same kind of thing. One more scan I did actually want to check just because I love this scan is the IPO one. And this one just sorts IPO stocks in the position of their range. Idea is to look for IPO breakouts. I'm still in this SMIR. I've been in from around 1050 to 1070, I think. And it's one of those things where, I'm holding it. I haven't sold any, actually, surprisingly enough. I've got a bar by bar stop on the first half of the position. And then I'm kind of really going for the jugular on this one, which has been great. I'm up 40% on my position. So that's been kind of a month maker. But again, it's one of these, the idea being that it's not going to be the shitty stocks that got us into the mess that's going to get us out. Yeah, I wish. It's going to be a different breed of stocks. So I want to be able to see if I can get them, kind of go for the jugular with it and see if I can get some really good runners. Yeah, definitely not that good of runner. I don't expect that. Do I put buy stops on my watch list every morning? No, I enter and exit all of my swing trades in pretty much the last hour of the day, unless I see something that really kind of stands out to me during the day while I'm watching. But in most case, I wait until the end of the day. I see which ones are trading at or above my area, and if I like them, I buy them kind of on the close. And it's one of those things that means I miss a bunch, but in my testing, it's just better. I love the look of this guy right here, but earnings, that's kind of my plight. And I'll do this until things are down. I actually bought, I didn't really tell anyone because it's a very tiny position. It was just to satisfy my nephew. I bought some phase on the close on Friday because my nephew was over here, and he said, and I asked him about this because said it was a video game media brand. I guess just a bunch of kids that have YouTube channels, but we'll see. So I think I bought like 5K or something worth of phase right here. Very small position, but more for fun than anything else. So it's going to be my top performing on a percentage basis this year because that's just how it happens. But yeah, for me, I enter all of my, I do all of my day trading in the morning, and I do all my swing trading in the evening. Okay, that's it. Now we're in the middle of this range here. All right, guys, thank you everyone for coming out. There may be another profit and loss this week. I'm going to try to do them weekly, but I really heavily edit them and everything, so it takes a little bit longer than normal videos, so stick out for that. On Wednesday, there will be the midweek market wrap-up, and maybe I'll figure out another series or something to start plugging in there. I think 4 videos, 3 or 4 videos a week is good. Like 3 well edited ones, I think would be a good number. But that midweek one's hard because I wanted to make it timely. So I just kind of record that and huck it out. But anyway, more coming on the channel as I'm trying to avoid my channel dying entirely. So again, I do appreciate everyone who comes by, hits the like button, shares it around, all of that. Have a good Sunday night, everyone. For Stats Edge Pro members, I will be doing all the wrap up, getting everything together right after I end this call, and I'll just ping you guys in Discord when that's done. As always, trade safe out there, guys. Yeah, that's interesting.